Good morning and welcome to another episode of Josh and Pat. I'm Joshua Klein, joined by Patrick Cassett, and the Broncos have just added Zach Wilson to their roster. This comes after a trade between the Broncos and the Jets, and everyone's thinking, is this the Broncos' plans for a quarterback moving forward? Now, it can't be forgotten that technically speaking, Zach Wilson did start over Aaron Rodgers this year. Now, Aaron Rodgers was not available during that period, but was on the team when Zach Wilson had the job. So, if you think about it, Zach Wilson is a guy who has played against some tough competition in his day. And now he's going to be with the Broncos, battling out with Jared Stidham. Patrick, do you think that this is a Bronco move that maybe leads to some unexpected development from Zach Wilson, or do you think that this is just because they need a backup?
I'll tell you what, if Sean Payton was less than thrilled with what Russell Wilson provided, I'm going to be really interested in how he's going to feel with Zach Wilson's production. So I'm just running through the head. Jared Stidham may be the starting quarterback because isn't it known that Zach Wilson is he can't start. He's got he's got to sit, right? He's got to sit, right?
That was a situation where he needed to start, and people thought that there's a chance he was going to say, "No, I don't. I'm good. I'll pass on the starting job." That was allegedly not true. That didn't happen.
It wasn't true.
But we have to remember, Zach Wilson put together some games. I do believe he beat the Chiefs this year. Or almost beat the Chiefs. He almost beat the Chiefs this year, and that's pretty good. So he
did beat the Bills. He beat the Bills.
He did beat that's right. He did beat the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was a big deal. So yeah, I think they're going to be just fine as long as Zach Wilson maybe gets rejuvenated closer to the motherland, Utah.
And it's good because it's Utah adjacent, right? Because we know some of the actions that he has maybe isn't very Utah-like, but it's Utah adjacent, so he gets away with it.
Right. And so I think it's an exciting time for the Broncos. Speaking of new with the Broncos, though, they just dropped a new uniform. And I'll be honest with you, Patrick, I've seen it before.
Yeah. Rule number one is don't make the uniform look like a division rival.
Yeah, that does feel like rule number one. And I'm not saying it's definitely close, okay? I'm not sure if the plagiarism software is marking up the red, but it's definitely got some yellow there where you're like, okay, hold up, you might want to cite this because you could be borderline plagiarizing if you don't. And this is what the Broncos did. They got the little lightning bolt-esque stripe thingy on the sides now, which it does look cool. I'll give it credit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they basically just came out with the Chargers uniforms in different colors.
Yeah.
Josh, can you get on Photoshop if you have time later, and can you just change the color of the Broncos jersey?
Yes, and see what it looks like.
And see what it would look like?
Or maybe change both and say, hey, which one is which?
Yeah, which ones?
then we could play fun. Like a little guessing game. Like, is this the Broncos uniform or the Chargers? And we'll figure that out. So, yeah, maybe now because Chargers in a rebuild, maybe the Chargers now switch kind of to the Broncos old uniform.
Oh, kind of like the Spider-Man
rebrand,
right?
Because then they could do a little flip flop because both clearly are moving in different directions than the previous direction that they were going.
Right. It's a new era, new generation for them, for sure.
Yeah. So we're excited to see what happens with Denver. You got a good one, and I'm sure every Jets fan will tell you that. And Sean Payton, I mean, he knows how to coach a Zach. Think about it. The parallels between Drew Brees and Zach Wilson are definitely closer than Russell Wilson and Drew Brees.
Way closer.
I mean, right?
Right, but then who would the Jets be drafting as their quarterback this year?
To replace him? I think they're just rolling with... If Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, I think he's just... It's just that's it. I think they're just going to say, nah, we're good. We're not playing.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Hey, good for you guys. Matt Ryan retires. This is big because obviously none of us saw it coming after he spent a year calling games. Clearly, we thought that was just an in-between side job. But I guess turns out that's the direction he's going to be taking his career. Officially says, I'm done. And this blindsided me, to be honest with you, Patrick. I did not see this coming.
Yeah, and it's a tough situation for him because you got to remember, there was no quarterback jobs that even came available last year, right? So to be a backup quarterback, it was really hard to break into the league.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness,
100%. RG3 will tell you that.
Yeah, RG3 will tell you that. In all seriousness, if he couldn't get a job last year, I think he had to quickly come to the realization that he wasn't going to get a job this year. Why it took him till April 22nd to figure that out?
I don't know.
I don't know. But I mean, I saw guys like Joe Flacco, and I know he is not the usual kind of guy that you bring off the couch.
Joe Flacco has one more Super Bowl and Super Bowl MVP than Matt Ryan, so.
Correct. Arguably, they both had one. Well, they both had one locked up halftime.
Halftime locked up, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It just one of them continued, actually got it.
Right. So yeah, Matt Ryan, it's retirement. It's happening, but unfortunately, it's not actually the worst news coming out of the Atlanta area. Obviously, all-time Atlanta legend Matt Ryan retires, but newcomer Kirk Cousins actually turns out indicted his team for tampering. And I think this is something that we just didn't realize, and I'm not 100% sure why this is now just coming back to a story. I mean, we've been talking about this since he signed, right?
We reported it a month ago, Josh. We reported it on this show a month ago. Right,
and now it's like all of a sudden coming out like it's breaking news. But what I didn't realize is that turns out Kirk Cousins, the day that he got signed, which was the first day of the new league year, which is when you're allowed to start talking to teams, came out and said, when I talked to the team yesterday, everything, everyone was just, it was a great place to be. This is where I realized I want to be some great people. And yesterday would imply not today, a.k.a. when you could start talking to teams, a.k.a. you were talking to them when you weren't supposed to be. And that's tampering. And now we've seen a range of punishments that come from this. And obviously the NFL hasn't made a ruling yet. But it could be as severe as losing a first-round pick. Patrick, how do you see the situation playing out? And do you think that this lapse in judgment from Kirk Cousins reveals something deeper about his quarterback play at the age he's at now?
If I was the Falcons, I would just do what everybody in life does, right? Because if you got that dentist appointment coming up, and hey, you could probably make it, but it might be a time squeeze next week. You're going to reschedule that, right? And so you're going to reschedule that a couple months down the road. Well, if you're the Falcons, if they come down on an investigation and they come out, let's say July, and they say they actually tampered, if I'm the Falcons, I just go appeal, right? So you just keep delaying that draft pick until after Kirk Cousins leaves. It's like it's never going to happen.
Right, and you imagine by the time Kirk Cousins leaves, they have maybe 1-2 Super Bowls?
Maybe 3 if things go well.
Things go well, yeah. So I guess at that point you're like, okay, that was worth it, right?
It was worth it.
And clearly that one day, those couple of days where they were working on the deal made the difference. That's what got that deal done. Clearly, with the amount of money they're offering and who Kirk Cousins is, that deal wouldn't have happened if it didn't start. If they didn't start earlier, right?
Yeah, well, because you got to remember, there's probably 31 other teams going after Kirk Cousins.
Right. Yeah, so they had to lock him up now. They had to lock him up as soon as possible. Because
Josh, you got to remember, there wasn't even 31 teams going after Lamar Jackson.
No.
So, I mean, you get a guy like Kirk Cousins, that's a game changer.
Yes. You try to go get Kirk. And so I guess it's going to work out for them, hopefully, in the long run. We're going to be rooting for that team, and I'm going to be rooting for Bijan Robinson. Hopefully, Kirk knows how to get him the ball, and that's all I really care for at this point.
Does Kirk have a good handoff?
Well, Dalvin Cook ate for a couple years there.
A couple years.
And now he's not on the team.
We didn't see the same production with Alexander Madison.
Right. So I guess we'll see what happens there. Moving on, Lamar Jackson was voted the NBA's favorite player. Now, this is both current and non-current NBA players. Now, I just want to know how this poll is conducted. Like, is there a big email chain that they just once you're in the NFL or NBA at any point, they have your email and they're just like, okay, well, big monthly email blast to everyone in the NBA and everyone who's ever played in the NBA. Who's your favorite player? And they were just like, Lamar.
Yeah, it was probably situations like, hey, do you want to be able to suit up for the playoffs? You got to go through the survey first.
Right.
So we got to see, hey, how did the team equipment staff do this year? How was the nutrition? What's your favorite athlete? And what uniform do you want us to wear? And that's probably what they went through.
Right. And so they do all that. And clearly this is an important story to announce because it matters who their favorite is.
Right. And if you don't think it matters, Josh, the guy they voted for is an international star at the moment.
Right. So I want to see what I think is funny though is what they choose to put out for like basketball, because I'll be honest with you, my social feed has not. I had to like Google who won the playing games.
Right.
And that feels like that's something that could have been like that would have been posted, but was not. So then, but I do see like who their favorite player is in the NFL, which got to me a little bit confusing. It gets selected for the NBA, reported, not reported. Interesting for sure, but you alluded to it. He's an international superstar now. Visits Germany. Turns out Lamar Jackson still fast in Germany is what we found out.
Well, because that was the time that was the question everyone was wondering.
Yeah,
is Lamar only fast in America?
Does it translate? Well, we know he's fast in London.
We knew he was fast in London, so that was step number 2.
Right.
Is he fast in
How
Europe?
many countries can we cross off the board is kind of what's
Correct.
figuring out. But he got the MVP chance in Germany, which is kind of confusing because I don't believe he played in Germany this year. We did not. And I don't believe he has any plans on playing in Germany in the next coming years. But maybe I'm wrong.
And I don't think they give out an MVP award in Germany.
Right. Well, I guess because he was the current MVP. So this was like, hey, previous MVP. I don't remember Patrick Mahomes getting those when he was there, though.
Hey, respect.
Respect to Lamar. And the Germans, they got their guy now. They got Lamar, which, if we're looking at Lamar, definitely not their usual, their stereotypical hero, but maybe breaking down some barriers there.
How do you think that appearance went? Like, who did they hit up to be like, hey, Lamar, you want to come over to Germany the week before the draft?
Yeah, who did they like email? Like out of current NFL, they probably were like, I mean, Kirk Cousins probably was on the list.
No, I mean, like, how did they get up with Lamar?
Did they email like his mom?
Yeah. Or is it a guy that we know that has an all-time business invention that will soon be out at some point? We know that they're figuring out the right way to roll this out. But we've seen it twice now. We've seen it twice in 2 separate years.
We've seen the rollout twice, yeah. Or the promo alluding to the rollout.
Twice. So
2 times.
I would imagine third time, that's probably the charm. So we know maybe it was a guy that he knows well.
Maybe. Who's that guy?
Okay, Ken.
What?
Ken Francis.
Yeah. And that's the guy who has probably reached out to. Now, listen, Ken's obviously making some business deals, moving for Lamar, and we're happy to see Lamar's success internationally as well as domestically. And obviously for the growth of the NFL as a whole. Speaking of growth, hockey's growing, and there's a new team being added in Utah, Salt Lake City. So, and obviously Utah, they got a history of great sports names. We obviously have the Utah Jazz, which clearly makes a lot of sense with what the city is and what they represent. A lot of jazz coming from Utah is what we assume,
Correct.
right? And because when they moved the Jazz from New Orleans, they clearly say, hey, that name obviously applied to New Orleans big time, but you know what? I think it's even more relevant to Utah. And so they keep the name. Utah Jazz sticks, and now they got the opportunity to name a hockey team, and the owner says they're going to do a bracket-style system to determine said name. Now, this got mixed reviews because a lot of people were hoping it was going to be a write-in process, as many wanted the name Salt Lake City Soakers. Now, that's obviously in regard to some native practices that take place potentially in the state. But we have, I guess, gotten a leak of all the potential trademark names that they've applied for. And so we have an idea, we think, of the potential names, and we're going to go through them. We're going to tell you, hey, which one should they go with? We got the Utah Blizzard. That's number one. Now, Patrick, is it really snowy there? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they're definitely in the mountains, so it definitely does snow.
Really? So
yeah,
blizzard's common.
I mean, I would argue Salt Lake City has hosted the Winter Olympics. I think that's all that needs to be said.
Really?
Yes.
So big. Okay. So blizzard could definitely relevant.
It could work.
Okay. Utah Venom. Now, what's the Venom come from? We got. They're like snakes there?
See, and I'm a little lost on the Venom.
We don't know.
No.
So it could be, maybe, is there some sort is scorpions there? Spiders?
It feels like they would be somewhere hot.
Maybe like, where's, you know the movie Venom? What's his name? Venom movie.
I can't say that I've ever watched that.
His hold up. Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy plays Eddie Brock.
Mm-hmm. That's probably
now Tom Hardy. Obviously, definitely just not. He's an English actor. So, but is there some maybe is there some correlation? Do you think?
Josh, I'm having a really hard time. I don't know who Tom Hardy.
You don't know who Tom Hardy is?
Who is Tom Hardy?
He's like he's one of the biggest actors in the world.
He's the what?
He's one of the biggest actors he played Bane. Okay, we're moving on. The Utah Fury, Utah HC, which is not helicopter, that's hockey club. And then just straight up the Utah Hockey Club. And we believe the Utah Yeti was also added to the list.
Now, Utah Yeti is where it
stay
needs
at
to
the
be,
Yeti,
right?
Because mascot,
imagine the mascot.
And imagine, because you've seen at the Disney, how they have like the new animatronic things where they can make those really big characters. Like, you get that. Mm-hmm. Maybe you just get the Yeti from Monsters, Inc. He could be the guy.
He might be the best Yeti.
Yeah, not LeBron's Yeti. Because we did see that movie as well. But
you got to remember, the Yeti from Monsters, Inc., he went out he was trying to make the snow cones.
Right.
And then they were just gone.
And we also have to potentially think that a lot of brand partnership opportunities as well. You sell Yeti coolers outside the same, the Yeti coolers.
Yeah, well, could you imagine? I mean, I hear Stanley's making a huge come up. What better way for Yeti to get back in the game?
Way for Stanley to take domination of the market and be like, yeah, screw it, we're going to sponsor the Yeti. We won't give you the satisfaction. And so every time anybody thinks Yeti, they're going to think Stanley.
Mm-hmm. And you see, and that's marketing 101 right there, right? So it's like you hear Utah Yeti, I immediately
Stanley.
Now go,
right.
Well, they drink from Stanley's. And I'm not talking Stanley Tool. I'm talking Stanley.
Yeah. And that's a free, for anybody listening who may be part of that marketing team, that's a free one from us. You're welcome.
That is free.
Yeah, so I mean, we're definitely voting for the Yeti there. We're hoping that that's what they pick. I think it would be a great opportunity, great name. And we'll see. I'm sure they're gonna most teams ruin this. This is like they consistently suck at this. But I guess the Commanders are potentially getting a new name too, so maybe they have a chance to right their wrong. You know what I think would be cool?
Yeah, we'll see.
If the Commanders did said, hey, once every 3 seasons, we're just going to change our name. And that was their thing. Like, how cool would that be? It's like, oh, what's the name going to be? And then maybe it's going to be, and then they do like a big like unveil. And then sometimes maybe it's like the old name comes back. And you're like, oh, that was one of my favorites.
I really want them to be the football team.
Football team would be cool.
It would be really cool. Just a better logo.
Right.
That's all they need.
Or, so like football team, then they went Commanders. I think, though, I'm hearing rumors that they can go back to the original because, and some people are voting for that.
Could you imagine if they just went back?
You know, all the controversy that sparked from us changing it in the first place for nothing. We are going back to the roots.
Because that's like, could you imagine that in a history textbook? And then you're like, huh, well, see, then 5 years later, they went back to
to go forward.
Did it turn out that it was just okay? And it was like, well, actually just turned out that maybe not that many people wanted to get rid of it, but then when we did change it back, a lot of people were really still mad. So...
Well, what made me think about that is, Paul Skeens? So turns out the team he's playing for in the minor leagues right now is just called the Indians. And I
really
that.
Wait, and so you're telling me the Pirates minor league team is called the Indians? Now that seems a little bit confusing.
Yes. Yes, we see the confusion. But what I'll tell you what is, that to me made me think, oh, is that coming back? And also, why can if a minor league can have it, like, can a major league team have it?
What I think would be an all-time.
What I think would be
what do you think the owners went through when the actual team, like the major league team, changed their name? What do you think they were like? They were like, well,
right now, is there a chance that team eventually becomes? Imagine if they became the Guardians too.
That would get really confusing.
I honestly think that'd be the funniest move they could do.
Yeah. That would be good. I look forward to that.
I'm kind of rooting for that. As much as I know I'm out of that. I don't care. It's not my team. So you guys do what you got to do. I'm pretty removed from that argument, as most people can tell. So as far as I'm concerned, whatever the right thing is to do it. But if you do have to change the name, please change it to the Guardians. Or actually, it would be cool. What actually would be better if they change it to the Rockers, which was the #1 fan vote for the Cleveland team. That would be now.
That's what you should do.
And just said we're going to be the Indianapolis Rockers, and just said, hey, that's what we're doing.
Kind of cool.
So suck it.
Kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that's my vote now. Cool. Anyway, Pat, what do you got going on this week? Josh and Pat updates. Got the Dover race. Going to be hitting it.
Yeah, going to the Dover race. We'll be back in Delaware on Wednesday. So
I will not be going to the Dover race. I will be in Dover that day, though. Going to be putting out some imaginary... Well, not imaginary. They're going to be real fires. Well, we lost Patrick. They're just going to be the controlled fires, for sure. And anyway, guys, that's the show. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you guys. Pat, I hope you're recording. I hope you have the knowledge to keep recording right now, because we're going to leave whatever you're doing on. And we'll see you guys on Friday for another episode of Josh and Pat. A peace.